Greetings, fellas and fellettes. I'm alive. More about that at the end of the video. I'm here to rant about why I think NFTs are poorly designed. For those of you who don't know what an NFT is, it stands for non-fungible token. If you don't know what fungible means, don't worry, I don't either, and I don't really care. NFTs are a type of token that can be minted by a smart contract. All you need to know about smart contracts is that they're little programs that live on a blockchain and they can be run in a decentralized manner, and they take actions based on some conditions. Functions in smart contracts can also be invoked directly, like to mint a new NFT, for example. However, doing so requires a little bit of money called gas. You don't require gas to read data from the smart contract, though. Multiple NFTs can be minted under one smart contract, and it is convention to mint all of the NFTs that belong to a collection or series under its own smart contract. Okay, so what am I actually buying when I buy a Bitcoin drunk panda? Let's take a look at Ethereum Improvement Proposal, or EIP 721. This is a technical document that defines interfaces for NFTs. There are some other standards that enable different use cases, like EIP 1155, but 721 is the original one. Inside this specification, the interface ERC 721 metadata is defined with three functions. Name, which returns a descriptive name for the NFTs. Symbol, which returns an abbreviated name for the NFTs in this contract. And token URI, which takes a single parameter, and this returns the link to the asset that the NFT with that ID represents. This can optionally be a link to a JSON file that conforms to the ERC 721 metadata JSON schema. That's it. That's all it is. So let's inspect the contents of StickDix 4971. The Paul brothers were involved with this collection, actually.
For the last 6 months, I've been working on my own NFT project that I believe is going to change the game.
Let's request the token URI from the smart contract. We can see that this token points to a JSON document with the asset's metadata. Inside the metadata, we can see the link to the image itself, and it points to IPFS. We'll talk about IPFS later. By the way, this NFT does not conform to the schema specified in EIP 721.
All those moments will be lost in time.
We've just established something here. Something critical to how NFTs are specified. The NFT itself does not have any standardized mechanism to enforce the represented asset's contents. If this sounds bad to you, you'd be correct. What this means is that at any time, the server that hosts the asset could go down, the server owner could change the image, and as a result, the NFT itself is not compromised, but the represented asset is. This compromises every NFT that cannot guarantee immutability of the asset that it's pointing to. Any NFT that can't guarantee that the represented asset won't change or become unavailable is, in my opinion, dead upon minting. This whole collection of StickDix NFTs are a prime example of this flaw in action. All of the metadata for these assets are stored on api.stickdix.com. That could go down, or they could change it to porn or a guy in a Japanese forest or something. The most obvious solution would be to have the NFT contain the asset itself. Problem solved, right? No, not really. You could do this, it is technically possible. There are NFTs that do this. However, to add bytes to the blockchain, you need to pay for gas. Okay, fine. What's it cost? The current gas price, as of the time of writing, is 109 gwei, but this changes pretty drastically depending on Ethereum's network load. 1 gwei is 0.00000001 Ethereum. A kilobyte costs about 640k gas. So gas is 0.000000109 Ethereum. So that makes it 0.0698 Ethereum per kilobyte, and that converts to about $288.25 per kilobyte. This is already sounding not very accessible. We'll generously assume a high-resolution image is 1 megabyte. To store it all on the blockchain, that would be $288,000. Suffice to say that this is not reasonably feasible or profitable. For shits and giggles, let's take a look at another NFT collection, one that's a little more high profile. The Red Ape Family is an animated show that has been making rounds for how shitty everything about the actual show is. From what I can understand, the token holders can vote to make decisions for the show. That sounds pretty cool, except that the votes are collected on a Discord, which is ironically a centralized platform. But this project has bigger problems than the integrity of its governance model. ERC 1155 differs from ERC 721 by allowing a bunch of different types of tokens to be minted using a single smart contract. There's also a bunch of other technical differences that I'm not going to get into here. Ultimately, it's less bytecode on the blockchain, lower transaction fees, stuff like that. Let's query the smart contract for the metadata URI for the first episode. Golly gee, I really hope this high-profile project that has moved the equivalent of a couple million USD to have their metadata stored reliably and immutably. Oh look, a URI to a centralized website, where the metadata can be changed without notice or auditability, or just disappear. Doesn't that just inspire confidence? You know what this proves? That the team behind the Red Ape Family is negligent and they're in it for the money, which wouldn't be surprising considering the quality of the animation. Or that NFTs are too easy to mess up, even for some of the most prominent community members, who you'd think would be pretty knowledgeable. In hindsight, there's a very simple solution that could fix all of the integrity problems. Simply add a new function to the metadata interface that could return some immutable representation of the asset, like a hash or a checksum. And we could go ahead and throw in a hash for the metadata too. That way, if the asset the metadata is pointing to changes, you could still be able to prove that the NFT represents the asset. Okay, great. What's stopping us from doing that? Unfortunately, we can't modify the standard retroactively because it needs to remain backwards and forwards compatible. We also can't just add it to all the existing NFTs retroactively because smart contracts are immutable and permanent. There's nothing really stopping people from adding their own non-standard functions to their smart contracts, but people are pretty unlikely to do this. Additionally, this extra hash field is simply not necessary for all use cases. It's mainly just applicable to art. There are lots of NFTs like this virtual land in a game that don't need a hash to represent them, just the X and Y coordinates. Devs want to keep the number of bytes on the blockchain to an absolute minimum. This is to keep the barrier to becoming a node on the network as low as possible, and that is better for the network's integrity. One of the problems with Bitcoin is that it's too hard to host your own node and keep the blockchain up to date. It's ballooned to around 360 gigabytes by now. It just didn't scale very well. So, NFT integrity is still a problem, but there's a pretty popular set of best practices to ensure NFT asset integrity. The first of which is using IPFS to store the asset. IPFS stands for Interplanetary File System. It's a distributed system for storing data. On the normal web, you can determine exactly where content is located with a URI. However, this URI does not have to be related to the content behind it at all. It could be literally anything, and it could change at any time. On IPFS, content is addressed with its content identifier, which is its hash. This ties the content to how it's addressed in a way that's not really enforceable on the normal web. You can't change the content without changing the address. That sounds like it solves the whole problem, right? Not quite. It's never that simple. Although IPFS is a decentralized system, it does not guarantee replication, meaning if all the nodes that contain the asset go offline, your asset can't be retrieved. So we've solved the asset mutability problem, but not the asset reliability problem. The last piece of this puzzle is another open source project called Arweave. Arweave is another separate decentralized system for storing files, except this time Arweave is built for archiving, so replication is a part of that. In case it wasn't obvious, it is not necessary to use IPFS nor Arweave to create an NFT. Therefore, NFTs are vulnerable to becoming centralized, which kinda defeats the purpose of it being decentralized in the first place. But this is really only a problem for art NFTs, or anything else that is not inherently attached to a centralized platform. This is not a problem for video game item NFTs. Also, two external dependencies outside the blockchain are necessary in order to ensure asset integrity. External dependencies like this kill reliability. You could argue that because IPFS and Arweave are decentralized themselves, they aren't subject to the kind of downtime a centralized external dependency would incur. But if they didn't exist, we wouldn't have a solution to art integrity. That's my point. The EIP 721 standard did not account for maintaining the integrity of art assets. Therefore, in my opinion, ERC 721 NFTs are not suitable for the ownership of art assets, which is like its most popular use case. Also, there's nothing stopping you from creating your own smart contract and minting your own NFTs, copying the images from other NFTs. Hell, you don't even have to do that. You can just take the token URI, slap it into your own NFT. The only indication that the token isn't legit is that it came from a different smart contract. That's not as obvious as you might think to end users, because it relies on platforms to convey the information necessary for users to determine legitimacy themselves. CheckMyNFT.com isn't enough, because there are NFTs that don't work in CheckMyNFT, and because it doesn't check legitimacy, just integrity. Because of this, NFTs are chronically vulnerable to every social engineering attack in the book. Social engineering protections have to be implemented by external, centralized, usually proprietary platforms like OpenSea. And even still, scams are successful and thrive. It's almost like immutable, permanent transactions are not conducive to normal society. Before we wrap this up, I just want to interject a couple of new things that I've learned. NFT transactions are specified such that it is possible to create a malicious NFT smart contract that when you try to send the tokens to another address, it just like steals all your money, your NFTs, your everything. I I'm not even joking. I have no words. I'm speechless. You cannot convince me that nobody saw this coming. Now, I hear you right now. Well, don't touch those smart contracts then. You can read the source code. Actually, fucking no. That's not a guarantee. The contract owner, the person that wrote the contract, has to send it to Etherscan, has to send the source code to Etherscan and get it verified. You could make the contract do whatever the fuck you want, and nobody would be able to tell until it's too late. It's ridiculous. NFTs were designed by committee, building on top of an existing system that is effectively a toy because why not? NFTs are fundamentally flawed because the assets can be altered on a whim and fraud is rampant in a system where there are no trusted intermediaries. Eventually, you are going to have to trust somebody. That is the unfortunate nature of secure systems when humans must be involved. You can't trust the system if you can't trust anybody. This is not the only problem that blockchain technology has. I purposefully didn't really talk about it to keep this video focused on NFTs. Let me know down below if you'd like to see another video focusing on why blockchains don't scale. So, to wrap it all up, if you want to make fun of people for buying NFTs, you should roast them not for buying a shitty monkey, but for buying a link to a shitty monkey. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let's see if we can get this video to 1,000 likes. I know it's been a while, but there's at least 16k of you, and I know we can hit 1,000, so click that fucking like button. I definitely want to start uploading a little more often, but the big videos are going to take a long time. This video was a lot easier for me to do, but it still took a while, so I've got to figure out my workflow a little bit better. The Minecraft video is baking, but I've got to redo it. Quick update on the brain tumor. It's gone. It's done. I'm healed. I'm alive. I've got a little bit of squishy noggin still, but I'm getting that all fixed up. Thank you all so much for all of your kind words. I am so happy to put this very shitty experience behind me. Something that I've realized recently is I don't really talk to a whole lot of people, and I want to change that. I've made a Discord, haven't even finished setting it up yet. Come join, come hang out. Not only will you be able to talk to me, but you'll also be able to talk to all the other people in the community, and you'll also be able to participate in the development of my open source projects, like OpenTogetherTube. Link in the description. Please don't be a dickhead. Speaking of projects, if you like what you're hearing, or you want to support me financially, I have set up a GitHub sponsors profile. I don't currently have any rewards, but I do have a goal. Link is also in the description. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more cool stuff.